Hello, good morning, Love Wrestling. It is Tuesday, November 12th, and we are here to talk some WWE, as you guys are used to with Drew and myself on Tuesdays. First and foremost, I know it was yesterday, but for any veterans, any servicemen, all things like that, thank you for your service. Hope you had a fine Veterans Day yesterday, as we honor you guys and what you do, protecting us and protecting our rights that we still have for the time being. So I appreciate everybody. So happy Veterans Day. Yes. And before we dive in, Drew, as always, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm doing good today. I have words about things going on in WWE right now, so I'm very, very interested to talk about them as we get their respective segments.
Yeah, I mean, we usually start with Raw because it's fresh. But I decided we didn't really do a pre-show meeting today or anything like that. I decided we're not starting with Raw.
I actually was
Because I
going to
thought
tell you, I think we should
SmackDown-
start with SmackDown as well.
I thought SmackDown had much more sizable things that happened, and some of it bled over to Raw. But I thought SmackDown was a much larger show as far as major things that occurred and stuff like that. So not saying we'll go segment by segment, blah, 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 but I want to talk about the big things on SmackDown, and then we'll kind of see where the day takes us. But before we do, Sandy's in the chat, as always. He says hello. He puts the ones up. He's saying yeet. He says my fam, and I assume this is him yelling at Drew.
Probably.
That. And then he says, he gives us a question off the bat. He goes, if you could choose, which Bloodline team would you be on for War Games? I think he's asking both of us, Drew. I mean, I kind of want to be with Jacob Fatu. I feel like I'll be in the best spot from a protection standpoint with Jacob Fatu. But am I not going to want to be on the team with Sammy?
My answer might surprise people today.
Are we going to be the fifth guys? Like, I'll be the fifth guy for Roman, and you can go with Solo and crew? You would go with Solo, right?
Sikoa is my tribal chief.
Wow. Yeah, we're going to talk about it because I'm look at we're going to talk about it. All right, I'm not really going to, I know we usually go segment by segment, and that's how we roll here. We're very, we try to be, blah, blah, blah. I just want to start with the Bloodline stuff in general. They were on both shows. There's things happening with these guys on both shows. So I just want to talk about it. We'll go over what happened on SmackDown because that was the biggest thing of the week. And then I just want to talk about it as a whole. Because I'm not really digging it. And I want to talk about it. So
wow. We didn't even talk about this, and I can tell you I feel the exact same way.
Look, I've been very vocal on our shows here and on Beards, just basically everywhere that I've been very vocal of the fact that, and I've just been very vocal of the fact that, okay, we're just going to get into it. Why is everyone going to help Roman Reigns when Roman Reigns has shown no growth as a human being from the piece of trash he was for 3.5 years? Why is everyone just running out and openly wanting to help this guy when he clearly, as a character, is the same asshole that he was the whole time? He hasn't learned anything.
Be mindful. We only 5 minutes in.
No,
That's
I'm
not.
I'm not going to swear today. I know I just said a-hole. I don't know if that's on the list. I don't know if it is. I apologize. I'm fine. Like I'm fine. But I do not get it. I know their family. I get it. Roman has shown no remorse. He's not apologized. He's not done anything that shows that he has learned from the person he was when he was manipulating, gaslighting, just being an evil person for 4 years, torturing these people, torturing them. He has not shown that he has grown. He hasn't even apologized. Even when Sammy was like, you need to, he's not apologizing. And all these people are going out of their way to help this guy. It makes no sense to me. I can understand Jimmy coming back and just joining Roman. I can understand that because Roman didn't kick Jimmy out. Solo kicked Jimmy out. So I can understand Jimmy coming back and aligning with Roman right away. I can move past that. Jay? No. And the way that it happened? No. One night he's refusing to even look or talk to Jimmy, and then 3 days later, he's high-fiving him in the back of SmackDown. No progression on our screens in front of us at all. He went from not wanting to talk to this guy to hugging and dapping him 4 days later on SmackDown. Then a week later, they're hugging in a ring out of nowhere. Then him and Roman are cool without Roman having to apologize. And then Sammy gets there, and Sammy's the guy that's like, no, I understand how it felt. I understand all this stuff, but I need you to apologize and apologize to Jay, not me, to Jay. And Roman still doesn't do it. He actually fake apologizes to Jay, saying, you're wasting my time with this guy. And then I was like, okay. So, all right. SmackDown opens, Drew, with the Usos. Roman comes out. Jimmy and Roman come out. Jay then comes out. Jay says,
which Roman still has a problem with, by the way.
Yep.
You can see it on his face every time Jay comes out. He's like, oh, why didn't he just come out with me? Why is he taking the spotlight away from me? You can see it on his face every time.
They come out. Jay comes out. Jay goes, hey, man, brought Sammy here. He goes, all I'm asking is that you just hear him out. Just hear him out. That's all I'm asking. Sammy comes out. Sammy gets in the ring. You know, he says, hey, first and foremost, that kick at Crown Jewel, that was an accident. That was not on purpose. He goes, but the only reason I showed up at Crown Jewel, it was for Jay. That was the only reason I showed up. Was that is true. Roman has been impressed. You can see that he's impressed with like the crowd reaction for Jay. Like you can see he's like, oh, all right. Like they like him a lot.
Yeah, but the thing is that they had the thing 2 weeks ago where he said, oh yeah, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I don't believe him.
It's the one thing of so Sammy says the kick wasn't on purpose. He said he was just there for Jay. Well, he said he goes, I'd love to tell you the only reason I'm here tonight is because Jay asked me, but that's not true. He goes, it's been a long time since we've been in a ring together. He goes, it was a very special time in my career when the four of us were together in the bloodline and stuff like that. And he goes, and even with everything that's happened, I'll always have a soft spot, blah, blah, blah. You know, he goes, I know we all felt it in that ring. And then he goes, I think he's talking to Roman. He goes, I think you love me.
Yeah.
He goes,
this was genuinely funny.
Yeah. He goes, I think you love me. And Roman kind of like smirks a little bit. And he goes, you know, He goes, it could be like that again. We could all run it back. And he goes, but the ball's in your court. So he kind of puts the spot on Roman there. And he's like, if you want to turn it around and leave, I'll never be a part of Bloodline again. I'll take off. I'll do that. But I don't think that's what you want, Roman. I think you want the four of us fighting together side by side. And then another smile comes across. Scott, what's going on? Good morning, my man. Hope you're doing well.
Good morning.
Kind of another smile comes across Roman's face. He goes, but I need you to do one thing for me. And he goes, I need you to apologize. And Roman starts kind of laughing. And he goes, not apologize to me. He goes, I need you to apologize to Jay. And I'm glad somebody somewhere in this storyline asked Roman to apologize.
Yeah, it's about time.
Like, for crying out loud. So Roman then goes over to Jay. And he says, I'm sorry. And it sounds sincere. It's Scott. You got a birthday today. Is today your birthday, my friend? Happy birthday, Scott. I'm a gentleman, so I won't ask how old. But happy birthday. Hope today is great for you. Exactly, Sandy. Exactly. So he goes, Jay, I'm sorry. He goes, I'm sorry that I allowed you to waste my time with this. He goes, he's not family. He's not blood. He's never been family of blood. He goes, this ain't about him. This ain't about you. And he goes, this is about, and he yells, Solo. And he goes, get your ass out here. Now, this was cool because we saw Jacob Fatu cut a promo, which we haven't really seen a ton of at all. So then when he calls for Solo, screen pops up. It's Jacob Fatu standing like this the whole time. The whole time he's talking. That's going to be his thing. He's never going to not be.
By the way, just sorry to cut you off for a moment here. Did you happen to notice what shirt Jacob Fatu was wearing on Friday?
Was it the one you want?
It was literally the one that I want. You are the one I want. Ooh, 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 honey.
Yeah.
And it was I Love You, Buffalo. So they're doing this shit.
Yeah.
They're doing this shit town by town.
Yeah, I told you. And I told you that it's a horrific mistake.
And, well, you're wrong.
I'm not wrong.
And I hope everyone that was there on Friday, I hope you got to the stands on time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't get my I Love You, Brooklyn shirt. So hopefully y'all got your shirts and it's sold, and good for him if it's sold out because it's a genuinely fucking banger shirt. It looks amazing. So
for the heel that you're selling.
Sandy, the problem looks Sandy. Here's
the problem. Get him.
You can't because they're nowhere. It seems like it was just a specific thing that's just happening. Even though there's Yeet Atlanta shirts on Chop WWE, by the way.
That makes sense because Jey Uso is a well-established babyface. So having a T-shirt that you do from town to town for the babyface that's super over makes sense.
So but the point is that WWE, I'm going to continue to tell you, you're leaving money on the table. That's all.
For anybody that might be new here, Drew went to a SmackDown recently, and he did not know the time of the start, and so he had to run to his seat.
Thanks, by the way, WWE. Thanks for tweeting it on Monday that you were doing a double taping and that it was starting an hour early, but you didn't do that for SmackDown 2 weeks ago when you were in Brooklyn. Thanks.
And then, so Drew messed up his time, and he had to run to his seat to watch the show. And he ran out. He couldn't get this shirt, and he has been very bitter ever since. Very bitter. I kind of like it. I like the bitterness. Makes me feel at home. But he's been bitter.
My New Yorker's coming out.
Yeah.
So
he's been bitter.
I think that's the angriest I've been on this podcast.
So Jacob Fatu shows up on screen. He says Roman's stupid. He says there's the tribal chief and everyone else, and Solo is the tribal chief. So, and Reigns is everybody else. And he goes, so you're back of the line. And he goes, and Solo will come out whenever he damn well pleases. And Roman, you need to acknowledge that. And that ends the
I
in-ring
think
segment.
one of his lines was, "Let me lace this up for you, stupid."
Yeah, he called him stupid. Yeah, for sure at the beginning. Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I need to hear this guy talking every week.
Yeah. So that ends the in-ring segment. So later on the show, we have the original Bloodline. They're walking backstage, and Jey Uso kind of grabs Roman, and he says, "Hey man, all I wanted you to do was hear Sammy out. That's all I wanted you to do." And Jay's a little pissed. And Roman goes, "Look, if you love Sammy so much, why don't you go find him?" He goes, "He's somewhere. Go find him. Get away from me." And Jay says, Jay goes, "If it was going to be like this," he goes, "I told you I wasn't coming back if it was going to be like this."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "This is your one pass." And Jay leaves. So I kind of like Jay sticking up for himself. Then Roman turns and looks at Jimmy, and even Jimmy is like, "Hey man," he's trying to argue Jay's side, like, "Hey." And then Roman gets mad at Jimmy and tells him to go find. He goes, "Why don't you go with your brother? Get away from me. You're all pissing me off." That's kind of how Roman was acting. So at this point, Drew, I'm sitting here because I've been yelling that Roman has needed to apologize for a month and a half.
We both have, yeah.
So at this point, my brain goes, "Oh, you know what's going to happen? Roman's going to come out later," because the main event segment was an acknowledgement segment of Solo Sikoa because he beat Roman at Crown Jewel, right? So at that point in my brain, Drew, my wrestling fan brain, I go, "Okay, I know what's going to happen now." I go, later on tonight, Solo and crew are going to come out. Roman's going to come out, and Roman's going to get his ass beat, and nobody's going to come help him. Nobody's going to come help him. He's going to get his ass beat by himself. And then next week, I'm going to get the apology that I've been waiting for. That's where my brain went, Drew. And I was like,
Seemed like it was going that way.
right? And I was like, still too late for me. But it's cool. That works. That works. So then we fast forward to the end of this show. Let me get all the way down to my notes here. We fast forward to the end of the show. Solo, all the crew come out. He's demanding that Buffalo, and the crowd there acknowledges him. They obviously do not. Roman Reigns comes out. Roman gets in the ring by himself at this moment, and he tells Roman Reigns to acknowledge him. Reigns kind of chills. He lets it melt. He's kind of letting it go, and he asks the crowd, he goes, "Do you acknowledge Solo?" So the crowd, they obviously a loud boo. And then he says, "I will never acknowledge you." He goes, "I'm here to challenge you. One-on-one, winner is the only tribal chief." Solo kind of laughs in his face and goes, "I don't need to fight you. I'm already the tribal chief. I don't need to fight you."
Accurate.
Correct. He tells Roman he can't be tribal chief without a tribe. And Roman kind of looks around and he's like, "All right, I got nobody here." And then he goes, "I challenge you, Roman, to go find 4 people in the locker room that will team up with you and we can go to war." And then Roman goes, "You talk about war games here?" And he goes, "And last time I checked, there's only 4 of you." And Solo goes, "Me, Jacob, the 2 Tongans, and my homeboy Sami Zayn." That's who he says his 5 are. And then we see Sami Zayn.
The moment he said that, I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
I know exactly now what's happening.
I tweeted about it last night, and I had people coming at me. He says the 5th guy is Sami Zayn. Roman has a look of like disbelief. He's like, "No." And then Sami appears on the stage, and then the Bloodline attacks Roman Reigns in the ring. And at this moment in my brain, I'm like, we're not. So then the Usos run
Wait, did you think Sammy actually joined with them?
No, I didn't want. I just thought Roman should have got his ass kicked by himself and had no.
Oh yeah.
So Absolutely. The next week he was humbled and apologized to people. Anyway, so then the Usos run by Sammy. They make the save. They're in there. Then the new Bloodline Solos crew gets the numbers advantage again. He calls Sami Zayn down. Sammy walks down. He gets in the ring. Solo is holding Roman up, and he tells Sammy, kick him in the face. You correct. We love Sammy around here. New music. He goes, kick him in the face. And Sammy is looking like he's going to give him the haluva kick. And when he runs, he kicks Solo. The Usos get back up. Roman gets back up. Roman he spears Solo. He gives Jacob Fatu a Superman punch, and the old Bloodline is back. They clear the ring of Solo and crew. They all stare at each other. Jimmy Uso's the first one. Jay's the second one. Then Sammy puts his up, staring right at Roman. And then Roman is last. They put the ones up. And it seems that the original Bloodline is back in tow as SmackDown goes off the air. Now, before we dive into what happened on Raw with the Bloodline, because that's a whole nother thing I'm not happy about. We are at the end. Look at, we've known for months that we were getting to War Games with Roman and crew versus Solo and crew. We've known this. We've known this for months. We are at the end destination. I am not upset that we are getting Bloodline versus Bloodline at War Games. The match is going to be great. We all knew we were getting here. The end destination is not shocking to any of us, or it shouldn't be, at least. My problem is Roman Reigns has come back since SummerSlam as a babyface. You are presenting him as a babyface, but his character is still the same dickhead that he was before. No remorse, not humble, doesn't think he did anything wrong ever, still. And that's part one, okay? That's part one of why this isn't vibing with me fully. Yeah. And then part two is everyone's just running to help Roman Reigns. We got to go help Roman. Why do you have to help Roman?
Yeah. So
that bothers me so much.
Before we get into like the meat of everything on Raw, my issue with this story has always been, like you just said, it's been that Roman needs to be the humble, ex-tribal chief, ex-king, hat in hand, coming to his former stablemates. Mm-hmm. So, hey, I'm sorry. I fucked up.
Yeah.
I know I manipulated you. I abused you. I'm sorry. I need help now. It always should have been that. Mm-hmm. Always should have been that. Mm-hmm. But here's the problem. As I've been saying since the Cody Roman tag match.
Unnecessary tag match.
What is any person's motivation to help this guy? None whatsoever.
He's given you none. No. And
I don't get it. Cody's like, okay, yeah. The funny thing too is that Cody even was like, no, I don't need to do this. What? This is Roman's fight. This isn't my fight. I'm done with Solo. And then he got coerced into it.
Yep.
Jay.
The same night, by the way. Like the same night.
Yeah, the same night too.
Like, come on, dude.
So Jimmy comes back, and then Jimmy wants to
get the band back together.
Back into the fold. And he goes to Raw. Jimmy goes to Raw to get Jay to come to SmackDown to talk to Roman. Mm-hmm. There's a pattern here.
But on that Raw, which is part of the problem, on that Raw, Jay refused to talk to Jimmy. Refused. Jimmy was in Jay's locker room. Jay was like, nope, didn't even go in the locker room. Later on that Raw, Jimmy finds Jay in one of the alleyways in the back, and Jay looks at him and goes, I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. and he leaves, and we don't see anything else until Jay just fucking shows up on the next Friday on SmackDown, high-fiving and handshaking Jimmy. What? Last time I saw you, you didn't even want to look at the guy. I know you're brothers. I get it. I have a sister. I get it. I get it. Family. No. And then even that night on SmackDown, they're dabbing it up and hugging out of nowhere with no explanation. But Jay is still not cool with Roman. And Roman's not cool with Jay. No heat. All this shit is happening. And then in the span of 5 days, they're fucking friends again. Roman didn't do anything.
Well, no. Hold on. Wait. I have to interrupt you. It's not that they're friends.
They're not. You know what I mean.
But because that's a very important distinction. It's not that they're friends. It's that Jay is doing it for Jimmy more than he's doing it for Roman.
Yeah.
So like I said, there's a pattern. Somebody has to go to Raw to get that person to come to SmackDown to talk to Roman.
Yeah. God forbid it's Roman doing the work at all. God forbid.
That person has to be the one to help Roman when Roman is by himself. It's a constant pattern of bullshit.
Yeah.
And then that person isn't doing it for Roman. That person's doing it for a different person. But they're also doing it for Roman too. That's what so Jay came back to Roman, not for Roman, but for Jimmy.
Yeah. And now
Sammy came back not for Roman,
but for Jay.
Or Jay.
Yeah.
So everyone's coming back for a different person that indirectly ends up helping Roman.
Yeah.
And this time, Sammy was the first one to say, hey, you know what? The ball's in your court. I will only do this if you want me to do this, but I need you to apologize. Literally, he's the first person to even say the word apologize.
Yeah. It's a problem. And New Music asks, is Heyman going to show up at any time? I would assume he will. I
don't know.
If anybody was going to get into Roman's head to be like, hey, maybe you should, be a little thankful that these guys came back to help you, buddy, or whatever. I think Heyman and the Wise Man might be that guy. I don't know when he comes back, though. I don't know if he doesn't come back until after War Games.
I think he's coming back at War Games.
Or at War Games, or maybe the SmackDown right before. I'm not sure, but I feel like we got the 4 of them back, however they got there, and, whatever. We got the 4 of them back. I don't think the old bloodline is whole until Heyman is with them. Like, he's the Wise Man. Like, he's the guy that when Roman is in peril, he talks to Paul Heyman about it before anybody. He gets what he should do with you. Oh, all right. Tight spot. What's going on? All right. Hey, man, what's going on, dude? Good to see you. I wasn't used to you on that one, but so that's my thing. Like, I do think Heyman would be back. I would assume it'll be the Friday before or at War Games itself would be what I would guess. But I do think Heyman, if Roman is ever going to slightly change and show some humbleness and show some remorse or whatever, I do think Heyman would be the one that would at least, maybe ask him the question and be like, hey, man, like, come on.
We'll see. I doubt it.
It just rubs
He's just going to get back in the ring. He's going to do the ladies and gentlemen. He's going to do whatever. And then just hand the mic over, just like he always did.
Yeah. And I would be
babyface Roman Reigns.
That's really my only issue. Is the way that they got these guys together made no sense. Made no sense to me. And I was just kind of like, I don't understand why all these people are running to go help Roman when Roman has not shown that he cared what he did to these people at all. like
And it's
at
not
all.
over yet.
And it's
Now
not.
we're going to talk about Raw.
So, well, yes, and then we're going to dive into another conversation because I have a feeling I know who the fifth guys are going to be on each team, and it's really going to annoy me. So fast forward to
Now,
Raw.
wait, are you saying that based off of something that you read, or are you basing it off of a feeling?
I'm basing it off of a feeling. I don't know if things have come out yet. I have not read a thing.
Oh,
but
we're going to get into it, by the way.
I am pretty solid after watching. Okay. Well, before we go to Raw, last Friday on SmackDown, there was another big thing. Well, there were a couple other big things that happened, but there was a big thing that happened involving Kevin Owens. Are they out there? Because it's going to be Kevin Owens and Cody.
I know what they are.
It's KO and Cody, right? Those are the
Nope.
No, all right. I'm happy about that then. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about
we'll
that.
See. I was afraid because on SmackDown, Randy Orton came out. My feelings sometimes do lead to reality. I feel like I'm pretty decent with my fictional pencil. Randy Orton came out on SmackDown as well. So there were three major things that happened on SmackDown. The Bloodline was obviously top.
Yes.
Randy Orton comes out clearly pissed off from the brawl that happened the week prior at Crown Jewel. He calls out Kevin Owens. He says, "Let's go." Security's out there. All this stuff is out there. They end up brawling for a little bit. And Kevin Owens ends up giving a pile driver, a banned move, which commentary sold perfectly of how like scary and dangerous. And I get it. Randy has a bag neck. I love Kevin Owens. That was a terrible pile driver. But I understand why we were overprotective of Randy Orton in that moment. But Randy Orton's head was 2.5 feet from ever touching that mat. It was rough. But besides that, he gives him a pile driver. Randy Orton sold this to perfection. And they stretch him out.
Honestly.
Oh,
like commentary and the whole way they did it was great.
Incredible. An incredible moment. And even KO, as he's leaving, like you can tell he was looking and he was like, oh, he was like, did I mess up? Like he had that kind of look like, oh, did I mess up?
I really liked that a lot.
Yeah. So everyone was perfect in this. It was great. Purposefully, Cody Rhodes was out there in his suit checking in on Randy. Cody gets in the ambulance and drives off with Randy. Because my original thought process was, all right, at Survivor Series, it'll be Cody versus KO, and Cody will be fighting for like Randy's, you took out Randy, I got to come get you. And then Randy's going to come back and turn on Cody. Oh my God. But that's what's going to happen. And so I was thinking on Monday, because on Raw, we saw different members of the Bloodline, not Roman, but we saw different members of the Bloodline on both sides talking to people throughout the night. So at one point we saw Jey Uso talking to Rey Mysterio in the background. At another moment we saw Jimmy come up after a Braun Breaker interview and talk to Braun Breaker, which I was that would be cool. I actually was like, I'd be all right. Even though in general, it should be 4-on-4. Why do we need to put other people that are not involved with the Bloodline in a match with I understand it's War Games. It's usually 5-on-5. I think the Bloodline story is a little fucking different. I think we can make it 4-on-4. And I don't think anybody would be complaining. Why do we need to insert two other guys and make a bullshit story about why they're in this match a week and a half of why do we have to do that? You're just clouding up
anybody that knows the Raw spoilers, please don't say anything.
You're just clouding up shit. It makes no sense. But anyway,
when we get there, I'm gonna spoil it for him.
No, I don't put it
in the chat.
No, okay? I do not want to get spoiled. I avoid spoilers on purpose. I don't want to know until I watch it next week.
You're sure?
So I'm 100% positive. There's a reason why I don't look at spoilers. I like to enjoy my wrestling, and spoilers do not allow people to do that.
Right.
But so I was just kind of like, you know how much stuff from the double tapings, Drew, that they've done a lot of over the last month has been spoiled for me. The answer is, I love Yokozuna. one of my favorites when I was a child, oddly enough, even though he was a heel. I loved him. Probably because
I'm going to ask you at some point to mute your computer so that I can for a minute.
No, I'm saying as half of this show, we're not doing spoilers on this show. We're not, to the chat, to anybody that might tune in, we're not doing spoilers. We will talk about it as it happens in real time.
I have to be angry at it next week again.
Yes.
I can't just talk about it now.
Nope.
Ugh.
Nope. I am not having someone click. I am not having someone click this show and have something spoiled for them that they didn't want to be spoiled.
I mean, I'm giving a warning.
I'm doing that for the people.
Listen.
For the people. But then we won't have anything to talk about next Tuesday if we talk about it now. Content, Drew. It's content. Oh yeah, that was very cool. Jack Cartwheel getting the WWE ID. Ice Williams is good too.
Summit, by the way.
Yeah, Jack Summit now, but oh, is it Bischoff? But anyway.
I think he was telling me about me giving a warning.
Oh, I know. So then we see some stuff. Sammy, at one point throughout the night, goes up to Seth Rollins. And they have a little backstage altercation where he goes, "Hey, man, I know you don't like Roman. I know." He goes, "We need a fifth person for the War Games match. Why don't you come and help us?" And Seth goes, "Hey, Sammy, I don't like Roman Reigns. You're right. I do not like Roman Reigns." He goes, "However, you're out of your damn mind. You're out of your damn mind if you think that I'm going to team up with Roman Reigns," which he probably will anyway, because they'll fucking talk him into it probably. But I wouldn't be shocked if it's Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed, to be honest with you. That would make sense. With what they're doing, I just want that if they're the ones, put them in the corner by themselves. They don't need to be over here. Let these 8 do their shit in one ring, and let Seth and Bronson do theirs in the other ring. Makes no sense why they would be in this match at all. Anyway, so that happens. Then later on, Seth is leaving the arena. And as he's leaving the arena, we see Solo and crew out there. And Solo wants to talk to Seth because he knows that Seth doesn't like Roman. And he's trying to get Seth to join them. And Seth goes, Seth says, "Hey, yeah, you're right. Again, I don't like Roman Reigns. And I'm never going to team with Roman Reigns ever again." That was a quote. Never. I know what WWE is doing. Never going to team with Roman Reigns again until the Bloodline interferes next week in his match with Bronson Reed and takes him out because he called Solo a wannabe Roman Reigns. And then when that happens, miraculously, Seth will be like, "You know what? I'm going to team with Roman Reigns." Never in my life, he said. Never in my life again. Never in my life will I team with Roman Reigns. But then he also said, "But I also would never team with a Roman Reigns wannabe." And then him and Jacob Fatu have a nice little stare off, which I was like, ooh. And that happened. And then he leaves. Blah, blah, blah. No. That's when the KO and Cody stuff came into me, because I was like, okay, KO hates Roman. Roman is the reason that KO turned heel. Like, Roman is the core of why KO turned heel, because Cody teamed with Roman.
That just hurt. It just hurt for me to be quiet in that entire moment.
Yeah. But so that's where the KO and Cody thing came from me, because I was like, well, who else hates Roman? KO hates Roman. KO is a bad guy now, literally because of Roman. It's the reason why he turned heel, was because Cody teamed with Roman. That would make sense of KO being on that team, because he screwed Roman, and then Cody, obviously. But look, I'd rather them not be involved. Yeah, I look at him biting his tongue has already spoiled it for me. I'm not an idiot. I've been a wrestling fan for 30 years. I know what they do. They're a bunch of morons that don't care about stories.
So we can talk about it now then?
No. We're not going to talk about it for the people. I'm a man of the people. I'm not.
The people already know.
The people in here, somebody might be, what if somebody just goes, "Oh, what is this?" and clicks it, and they're just, avoiding spoilers wrestling fan, and they're like, "Oh, what the hell? I'm never coming back here ever again." It's about, doing the right thing. But it's going to be Seth and Bronson. So we do that. Fine. Cool. So that happens throughout the night, is all that. So
I am you know what? JR is right. It is. He is on Team Roman, and I am on Team Actual Tribal Chief Solo Sikoa. That's exactly.
I'm not helping Roman though. I'm not helping. Not until he apologizes.
And it'll just be the two of us just shouting back and forth about how I wanted to actually talk about this today, and he didn't let me. That's pretty much it. Sorry. That's how a feud can start anyway, right? So why not that?
Just think about it. There's a taped episode of Raw that we need to come on here next week and talk about Tuesday at 10 a.m. If we talk about the main thing that happened today, what the hell are we talking about next week?
Oh, there's other things that happen.
Oh, I'm sure, but nothing's going to be more juicy than that. That's going to be the biggest thing that occurs. Or one of, you know? So, again,
people who already know.
Why would you read?
They know that's not the biggest thing that happens.
Why do you read spoilers? That just seems to take the fun out of anything that would happen. Why would you read spoilers? Just in general, just asking.
Well, so for me,
I don't get why anybody
me
does.
As a wrestling fan.
Yeah, in the chat you can ask too. Like that to me, what's the point of watching the show next week now? Because you already that takes everything away from it.
I don't care. I'm somebody that can just know what happened and then continue watching. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But that doesn't affect your reaction to what happens anyway?
No.
That's insane.
I mean, okay, well, all right, I won't say no.
So if somebody was having a big return and you found out before, you wouldn't be like, oh, that's slightly less exciting because I fucking knew about it on Tuesday.
Okay. I will say it does. You know what? My views are like Asian jokes right there.
That's fair. But I feel like I feel like I've been watching wrestling for so long. I know how they're going to get there without being spoiled. Because it's wrestling at its heart is the same 8 stories it's been for 70 years. They just take you in different directions because of the characters. It's the same 8 stories. There's a love story, tag team turning on each other, family shit.
Oh, there's multiple ones of those going on.
Yeah, it's the same 8 to 10 stories forever in the history of wrestling. There's just little things because of different you know what I mean? Does that make sense? How that
nobody ever burned somebody's house down though. That's different.
That's a little different. That's a little different.
Yeah.
Although there's been house invasions. Randy Orton punted John Cena's dad.
Invasion. Yeah. Burning. No.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh well, actually no. It did happen once.
Wasn't there a burning cross or something on McMahon's lawn during the Ministry Undertaker days? Didn't
he
burn
that,
a cross?
But Randy burned
down the Firefly Funhouse, did he not?
Not the Funhouse.
Before
all that.
Matt Hardy? Yeah. The Matt Hardy
compound
or whatever. Yeah, it was Braid. Yeah. I thought so.
Seth burned down the Funhouse.
Yes, that's right. Okay. I think that's enough for the Bloodline stuff. I think we can all have an idea. We can all.
See, I'm not going to be as mad. I'm probably not going to be as mad about it next week, which is why I wanted to talk about it now and get my frustrations out. But all right.
Why won't you? Well, is it? What? It's Seth and Bronson.
I'm not telling you.
Well, what if I'm saying, tell me? It's Seth and Bronson. I can already tell by the
silence. What about the people that are watching?
You know, they'll know that you don't care about them, and I do. But we're here, and that's where we're just gonna. We're here. So, I am a man of the people. I try. I'm looking out for everybody. But I can already tell, even without you telling me, that it's going to be Seth and Bronson.
Yes, it's Seth and Bronson. Okay, it's fucking Seth and Bronson.
I actually have way less of a problem with that than if it was going to be KO and Cody, like I thought. I have way less of a problem than that. I don't mind that at all. I mind that Seth said, I'm never in my life going to team with Roman Reigns. And now he's gonna. I mind that. Why have him say that line? You write the promos. You literally write the promos for these guys. Why have him say that line? If a week later, he's just going to be ended up teaming with Roman Reigns. You make him look like an idiot.
Okay. And listen, for everybody that hates spoilers, sorry, okay? I don't usually participate in shit like this, but it pissing me off. This legitimately pisses me off, okay? Mute. I'm going to give you a 5-second countdown. Mute the damn stream, and I will give a thumbs up when you can unmute, okay?
And then we touched on this briefly, but after Drew does his thing, I want to talk about this because it is absolutely pointless that there are 5 guys in this match. Go ahead, Drew.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mute. Bronson and Seth are having their match next week. The last match that they're supposed to be having.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to put me out of the way.
I want to because I know you're going to go off. I want to.
I am going to tell you now the dumbest thing that's going to happen. Because of the situation with Solo and everything.
Yeah.
Solo is interfering in the last match between the two of them.
Yeah, Bronson's going to win.
I was like, last night I was on Roundtable, and I was like, this is not going to be the last match because they don't respect Adam Pearce on this show.
Mm-hmm.
So Solo interferes in this last.
You've read this already, you know?
Yes. This is what happens. I am
Just
telling
Solo?
you right now.
It's just Solo, not the rest of them? Just Solo.
Well, I mean, it's the. Does it say? Let me see. Does it say? Well, it doesn't. It just says interference from Solo Sikoa. It doesn't say whole bloodline, but I imagine the whole bloodline is there.
Mm-hmm.
After the match, Solo raises Bronson Reed's hand.
Okay.
And then, the get up of this is now obviously because of the segment that happened last night.
Yeah.
Seth is gonna go, well, why is he raising Bronson's hand? We know why. It's because he's gonna be the 5th guy. Because they have to include another feud into this dumbass fucking shit. Because they just gotta do it this way. And I gotta tell you, I like Triple H for the most part. But he does some really dumb shit sometimes. I just don't get it.
Yeah, and this
completely unnecessary.
And this goes into Asian Joe's comment, and we talked about it as we've kind of been unfolding this. But yeah, I agree with Joe right here. I have a problem. Why does there need to be 5th guys in this? The feud is Solo and his 3 guys against Roman, the Usos, and it's 4-on-4. You can have a War Games match 4-on-4. The ladies can have the 5-on-5. Why does this need to be 5-on-5? And don't get me wrong, with what we're seeing with Seth and Bronson and how they, the feud has been and stuff like that, it makes sense that they would take part in a War Games match against each other because it's been, they can't lay off each other. They are literally beating the crap out of each other every chance they get, right? So I understand them having this type of match. However, inserting them in another, they have nothing to do with months and months and months of build. Yes, Seth was in the line of people that Roman beat during the tribal. I get it. They have the history. You can make an argument. Roman lost the title at WrestleMania because he chose to get revenge on Seth Rollins with the chair shot instead of just putting Cody out of his misery. There are storylines galore with Seth and Roman and a background. I get it. But the Seth and Bronson
And then you're going to put them on the same team?
Yeah. The Seth and Bronson feud has nothing to do with the bloodline at all. You are just making this shit extra cloudy for no damn reason. There is no reason why this is not 4-on-4. None whatsoever. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. You're having a ladies' War Games match. That can be 5-on-5. You're building to that, which we'll talk about. I think the end of Raw kind of is building towards that. Fine. I don't care.
And even that I'm not that interested in because that's all thrown together too.
It's just kind of like,
okay, I'm gonna give the thumbs up now so that everybody can unmute because I'll probably still be mad about this next week. So
I just don't understand why there needs to be 5 people. I just don't know why there needs to be 5
welcome
people.
back, everybody. We just did 1.5 to 2 minutes on the spoiler of that. If you want to check it out, you can go and watch it when we're done. But yeah, I had a really cool idea, by the way.
Of what?
Oh, you know what? I'll mention it next week because then it might give something away.
Yeah. Another cool thing that happened on SmackDown is we had the announcement by General Manager Nick Aldis that we have a new title in WWE, and it is a Women's United States Championship. I like this a lot. They said that it's going to float between Raw and SmackDown. I mean, but I feel like everybody's floating between Raw and SmackDown currently. So, but I am cool with the title kind of being a mid-card title for the ladies, which is awesome. Incredible. I love it. Sandy, it makes me feel like because they said it's going to be on Raw and SmackDown, we do not. I think this is going to be just the only, because they, with them specifically saying that it's going to be both Raw and SmackDown, that tells me that I think this is going to be the only one for a while, which I'm okay with.
Okay, so I actually have a problem with this also.
I have a problem with the design. Can the ladies get original designs, by the way? Like, just give them the men's designs with the white. Don't get me wrong, I love a white strap. I think those are the prettiest looking straps. But like, can they be a little bit different for the ladies' titles than just the men's titles with white straps?
2 problems I have actually. First of all, you fucking tribalists don't get a goddamn thing about there being too many titles in AW. Do not say a fucking thing. That's number 1. Number 2, why isn't it, if it's floating between 2 brands, I feel like it would make more sense for the Intercontinental Championship to be the Women's Intercontinental Championship, because what is the it doesn't make sense to me that you're just randomly putting a Women's United States Championship there. I feel like the Intercontinental Championship, it's kind of like the more prestigious one.
Oh, for sure.
And also
in WWE world, the US title is very WCW, NW. Like they both have prestigious lineages when you look at it, but in WWE's world, the IC title is way more prestigious, in my opinion. Way more.
I mean, it's the one that is like the stepping stone to the world title, and has been treated that way for decades.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't it be a Women's Intercontinental Championship instead of a? I don't even really like that title design that much.
I don't like the men's version of it either. It needs to be revamped, I think. Of all the titles, it's the only one that they kind of kept the same.
It's very strange looking. I'm not a fan of it. And it has the stars of the flag on it, but it's not even all 50 stars. It's just like 20 or 25 stars or something. And I'm not. It's good for the women on the roster. I'm not talking badly about there being another thing for the women to fight for, because that's good for them. I'm talking badly that, 1, it's the United States Championship and not the Intercontinental Championship. And 2, tribalists are still going to say that AEW have more titles, and they're going to.
Why do you care? Why do you care so much about what these idiots have to say all the time?
I don't really. It's not that I care.
Yeah.
About it. It's that
people are going to say dumb shit no matter what. It's just the world we live in. Everyone says something dumb about something.
Let
them be dumb.
It's what?
Oh no, go ahead. Finish your thought. I want to bring up Joe's comments. But
yeah, it's fine. And then the white strap thing, actually makes all of whatever title they put a white strap on immediately makes that title look better than the men's.
Oh, the white straps
Like,
are the prettiest.
so, like,
Prettiest
while
of
I
the
don't
straps.
like the design of the United
Yeah.
States Champion, it looks better with a white
Oh, yeah.
strap.
Oh, yeah. 100%. The
So,
white straps are just, and maybe they, a mid-card title for the women, overdue. I love it. It gives, like Sandy said, it gives the women who maybe not would never, but it gives the women who are not up there yet. Like I think of a Chelsea Green. I think
Mia
of a
Yim.
Mia Yim, a Piper Niven, a Candice LeRae, who they're showing on TV now a lot more. Like I think of like women like that. And I'm like, yes, this gives them a title. And you know what it creates, or it should create, hopefully, is more stories for the women as well. Because there's another title with that. It's going to need stories to build up and stuff like that. Asian Joe says he agrees. He'd much rather have a women's IC title, especially as they begin to let their talent appear at some shows outside of WWE, which they're letting do. And then he says, also, does this mean that the NXT North American titles are greater than the WWE US titles? I like the North American titles down on NXT. I think the belts look pretty. I think they're good belts.
It looks nicer than the US title does, that's for sure.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
Sandy's comment there. I fell in. So when I came back to wrestling in 2012, the white strap IC title was the first title that actually caught
the best. The best.
And I was like, whoa, that looks really nice.
Yeah.
I would love to buy that one day.
Yeah. Tremendous title. When Cody brought it back, I was just like, oh, baby. I was like, that is the prettiest title.
I don't know if I don't think they sell it right now on WWE Shop. But I would probably in the future look to, listen, I don't know how long we're going to be doing this program for. It could be another 4 or 5 years. It could be for the rest of our lives. I don't know. But eventually, I know I changed my background a lot because I'm a weirdo and I like moving my furniture around way too much. It's a stupid OCD thing. But eventually, I'm gonna be like not where I'm living right now, and I'm gonna be in like my own. This is my bedroom right now. I live in a 1-bedroom in an apartment building in Brooklyn, New York. Okay, with a husband and 2 cats, and it is too fucking small. And I share a laundry room with 84 other apartments in this.
Yeah, my least favorite thing of living in an apartment building like that is the shared laundry. I would rather just never wash my clothes. I will just
Joe, you're invited to Riot.
Yeah, and like I mentioned her first for a reason, but Joe says if Chelsea Green isn't the inaugural champion, we're like basically what are we doing here? We're rioting.
You're gonna annoy all of the old people around me, but that's okay. I probably do that anyway. I'm sorry, I just ranted about my living space. But the point is that I will have like a office type setup similar to what my friend over here has, and I will have my own room, and I'm gonna have my bookcase back, and it's gonna have all my wrestling shit on it, and and it's gonna be a little while until we see that again. Unfortunately, titles are tucked away in the closet in their bags. Actually, my TNT title is down in my drawer over here. That you will see them again at some point. You can go back in the archives and see my old setup and everything. But that IC title, I wanted my setup because that was a gorgeous iteration of that championship, and it will be there one day.
Love it. All right. So we spent the first hour literally talking about the bloodline. Basically.
They're really the only thing that matters, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought there were some other good things that happened on both these shows, but the bloodline.
Let's talk about another trend that's going on lately. So, Street Profits have expressed they're getting like really hot right now.
Did you see the promo they did with Montez? Yes, very good. Montez was excellent.
Take that out. Incredible.
Yes, Montez was excellent.
However, I'm worried about that tag team because it's starting to look a little bit like Montez is a bit more angry lately and could potentially lead to something.
Mm-hmm.
And also, right, he said that too, what Sandy just said.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a problem. DIY.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's one team member of DIY that's really angry right now, and the other person doesn't really understand why.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the women's tag team champions who are always seemingly in sync, but then all of a sudden one random thing will happen and then they're not in sync anymore. Like there's a breakup happening. It's very weird.
Well, we're getting the Royal Rumble and the Mania season, Drew. We got to start getting some
but do we have to
stories,
tell
man.
almost literally the same story?
Well, I mean, we knew that Bianca and Jade is a Marquee Mania match. That's happening. So you know that the demise is happening somewhere soon. Somewhere.
Whether there was the other one, Sandy. They kind of like deviated from that one.
Yeah.
That was a recent one too, Austin Theory and Waller.
Yeah, AEW is doing the same thing too with a few of their tag. Yeah, it seems to be a trend in wrestling.
Right. That's the
which we'll talk about. We'll talk about. We're going to dive into that. That'll probably be the next thing we talk about. Yeah, I see it. I personally think that. Well, there were some reports that came out over the last couple of weeks about Montez has been vocal in some spots about how he's unhappy about his current situation. Not so much about. A little bit about him having opportunities as a solo guy, but really about the fact that the Street Profits themselves haven't really been doing anything. They haven't been champions in 4 years or something like that. And,
just before the pandemic.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where, so I do like the change of character. I would be more than okay if they did a Street Profits heel run, like proper heel run before they decide whatever they're going to do with him. I think the fact of them kind of talking about Bobby Lashley in that promo, didn't mention him by name, but Montez in that promo that we talked about, he mentions, hey, we aligned with somebody who we thought had the same views that we did, but then they left and went to do their own thing. And now we're just kind of back where we were. I thought it was a very good way to, Finn and JD, where there's a little bit of trouble. It looks like maybe brewing in the Judgment Day as well.
I was going to talk about that when we got there.
Yeah. So it seems like all these groups, all these teams in WWE, they're having a little bit of problems. There's a little, the sharks are in the water, Drew.
By the way, Scott, you're not the first person to say that. I haven't seen The Godfather in a long time, which is a shame. I am very Italian and
how haven't you don't watch that regularly? I watch it for Christmas every year.
Actually, I've watched Casino a number of times.
Casino's all right. Casino's all right.
That one's that one just tips over for Goodfellas. Like I'm like,
really?
1A is Casino, 1B is Goodfellas. I know. I'm different.
I mean, Casino's not a bad movie at all, but Goodfellas, like that is. Some people prefer Goodfellas over The Godfather. That's how good Goodfellas is.
I know.
Crazy.
Something about Casino. I don't know.
Joe Pesci. Well, Joe Pesci's excellent in Goodfellas. Sharon Stone, maybe? No, you don't go that way.
The whole storyline of Casino just like really, it's really good. It's like that's one of my favorite movies. So.
No, they're both. All of those movies are excellent movies. All of them. All right, let's try to dabble in some other stuff that happened on Raw.
Let's talk about New Day since we.
You want to do New Day and then we'll start.
Yeah.
Okay. So New Day, at one point, Kofi Kingston is being interviewed in the back, and he runs into R-Truth, and he tries to apologize for R-Truth, and he says, I never got to properly thank you for helping us out a few weeks ago, and he goes, and I never got to properly apologize for us not having your back. And he basically throws Woods under the bus. He says, for some reason, Woods didn't want us doing that. And as he starts saying that, You see Xavier Woods pop up in the background. He overhears what's happening. So he moseys on over and he asks what the deal is. And before they really get into it, Pete Dunne shows up. He starts yelling at R-Truth. And then Truth kind of goes along with it. And then Kofi and Pete Dunne start going at it. And then Xavier tries to step in, but Kofi says no. And so we're going to end up with a Pete Dunne versus Kofi fight on Raw. And then R-Truth wishes Kofi luck with Pete. And he says, but it's Butch you need to worry about. And R-Truth doing, being R-Truth and having a good time. R-Truth's a treasure. We don't deserve him. That leads to Kofi Kingston and Pete Dunne later on in the evening. Pretty decent match. However, during this match, at one point, Pete Dunne gets thrown out of the ring. Kofi starts to go towards it. The ref kind of is like, yo, let him regain whatever. And as he's doing this on the outside, Xavier Wood attacks Pete Dunne, gives him a clothesline, or threw him into the corner or something. But he gets physical with Pete Dunne. And then he throws Pete Dunne back in the ring. Kofi sees this. No, I'm sorry. Kofi then gets out of the ring, throws Pete Dunne back in the ring, and he kind of hits Woods and goes, what the hell are you doing, man? Why are you interfering? And Woods is like, I'm just trying to help, blah, 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 whatever. And he's just like, don't. So Kofi then gets in the ring, and he's distracted from jarring with Woods. And this leads, Pete Dunne hits him with a kick, hits the bitter end, and Kofi loses. And Pete Dunne gets the win. And as he's getting pinned, they had this great camera angle of Xavier Woods, who's sitting there leaning against the apron with his back turned to Kofi getting pinned, just looking pissed. Not even pissed, but more just like, this idiot. I tried to help him, and he just doesn't get it kind of look. And then they start arguing up the ramp, the New Day, So that was kind of the continuation of the New Day stuff this week. Woods is starting to really go heel with attacking people, and, they're really leaning in.
It's been gradual. Since
build.
the Odyssey Jones stuff. It's been
Correct.
More gradual. First, it's they're Woods are doing the behind the scenes look of frustration. Then he started voicing his frustration.
Mm-hmm.
And he started interfering in matches.
Mm-hmm.
Heelish tactics. It's been a gradual thing. I'm really liking it a lot.
Yeah, it's been really good. Sandy is saying that he thinks Big E will save the New Day, and he thinks it's a swerve, and they will all get along after all. So he thinks they're just teasing the tension, but eventually Happy Days will. Look at
maybe possible.
Yeah, again, there are spoilers for next week's episode. I assume the New Day is involved in that episode. I don't know what have they announced. They keep on saying later this month. Have they announced when they're? Because the whole Raw episode is being dedicated to the New Day,
right?
And they keep on saying later this month, but they're not giving a date. So there's only 3 more Raws in the month.
I'm gonna assume it's
the one after Survivor Series. But that's technically December, because Survivor Series is what, the 28th or 29th? That's right. Survivor Series is the weekend after Thanksgiving, right? That's Sunday or Saturday, one of them.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The Survivor Series is the 30th.
And there's not 31 days in November, so that would be December 1st. So if it's later this month,
second.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, so yeah. So if
it's December 2nd.
Yeah.
It's a Monday.
So when the hell is this Raw happening?
I guess it maybe. Well, so then maybe it's the 25th.
Yeah. All right.
You know what? I have a thing in my brain that just popped up. So they taped next week's Raw. Obviously, they weren't going to do it on next week's Raw.
Yeah.
So the following Raw is live. 25th.
Yeah.
I think that is when they're going to do this whole thing. The pay-per-view is
that Saturday.
Week.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be any saving. I think Big E shows up as a surprise.
Mm.
So Xavier Woods and Kofi don't know that he's coming.
Mhm.
It's just going to be a celebration, blah blah blah, and Big E's doing his thing, and he's still resting up, and with injury and whatever. So Big E is going to come back.
Mhm.
He's going to get a joyous ovation because
Mhm.
everybody misses this man on television.
Of course.
And then, wait, what?
Oh, so the Raw that they taped last night is for 2 weeks from now? So we're going to get a live. It was not for next week. No, that doesn't make sense. Because they announced that Reed and that's next week, and that match happened, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. So they announced, Joe, they announced on Raw last night that Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins was happening at the next week's Raw.
Yeah.
So yeah, that wasn't for 2 weeks from now.
I'm surprised they're not. So they're doing a live Raw the week of Thanksgiving.
They're probably going to. They're
probably going to tape SmackDown.
They'll do a double SmackDown next week, probably.
Yeah.
So this way there's no SmackDown the night after Thanksgiving.
I do think that this is one of the good things.
Yes.
That WWE
a lot of praise for
and Triple H is doing. That during the holidays he is letting his employees spend more time at home with the family, because I imagine they'll tape that SmackDown. So they'll do the live Raw on that Monday, and then the wrestlers won't have to be back until Survivor Series. They'll fly out to Survivor Series, and they'll get like a good 4 or 5 days to be with their families for the holiday and enjoy that. That is a very good thing. That is a very, very good thing.
You know what? So now I'm getting it. They're going to do the New Day Raw the 25th, and they have to do it live because you can't do something like that taped.
No, you can't spoil it if there's something big like that's going to happen.
So they needed to have a Raw. It's not fair for SmackDown to get a taped episode and have a week off and not Raw. So that's probably why they did next week's is taped, so that Raw can have a week off. And then the following SmackDown will be taped, so that this way the SmackDown after Thanksgiving, they don't have to travel.
They don't have to. Yeah. No, and then they'll travel the next day or whatever to Survivor Series or whatever the hell it is. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, let's kind of dive into the rest of Raw. So the show opened with Gunther making his entrance, and we are informed that is officially set for Survivor Series. It will be for the World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther going one-on-one with Damian Priest. Gunther grabs the mic. He reminds everyone that he is still the World Heavyweight Champion and he doesn't live in the past. He looks in front of him, and Damian Priest is standing in front of him. And we then get Damian Priest making his way down to the ring. He says what he wanted to say to Gunther, he wanted to say to his face. The ring general offers to play a replay of what happened the last time they fought, but Priest cuts him off and says, I already know what you're going to do, man. You're going to call me street trash. You're going to call me a bum. You're going to say my parents didn't raise me right, etc., etc. He goes, you're going to say that, he goes, I had to work and do everything to get here while you just sat at home waiting for a phone call. He says, I know your vibe. It's fading. And he goes, and I can see it when you lost in Saudi Arabia, when Cody beat you. He goes, that old killer Gunther would have taken a swing at me by now, but you haven't. And Priest is really trying to goad Gunther to come at him. Really, I felt like in this, he was like, "Come on, let me see that guy." You're not being as cocky lately since the loss to Cody. You're kind of being a little bit more whatever. Let's go. So he keeps on goading him, but he's not throwing hands. Damian says that it's proof that Gunther's kind of fading, because if he wasn't, or if he tried to hit Priest, he'd drop his ass right here. Then we get Ludwig Kaiser coming out. He tells Damian he best get out of the ring before he gets his ass kicked again, but he's not even worthy. And as he continues to talk, we continue. Gunther grabs Kaiser's mic right in the middle of him talking. And he says, you need to back down. You need to stop. You need to stop. And Kaiser says, no. Kaiser says, I'm not going to stop, because he needs to hear this. And then Priest clocks Kaiser, sends him to the floor. Gunther kind of backs out of the ring. And he's kind of, as they're going up the ramp, he's like yelling at Ludwig the whole time. He's just yelling like, you didn't listen to me. You're out of line. Like, you listen to me. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. This then also led to a match later on in the night between Damian Priest and Ludwig Kaiser, in which it was a pretty good match, but it was a pretty standard match. And Damian Priest defeated Kaiser with South of Heaven. And Gunther was at the top of the ramp. They had a stare down after and all this stuff like that.
Let me talk about why I also didn't like this. Well, it's not that I didn't like all of it. I really liked the Damian Priest part of this.
Yeah, I missed him being I missed him being in the title picture. I think I like the fact that he was kind of in there back talking about world title stuff with. I was like, yeah, right.
And what he was saying was not untrue.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not even like I don't have any problem with what he said. I really liked his like really going at Gunther the way that he did. I really did like that a lot. I didn't like Gunther's reaction to it. It was very wussy. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was very like, this is not how Gunther reacts.
Yeah, but I think that's the story where Priest is leaning in. He's saying, "Hey, you're not the same guy since Cody beat you. I can tell. You're not as confident. You're not." And like, I think him.
But it's only been a week since then.
Yeah,
that's like a month.
Yeah, but for a guy like but for a guy like Gunther, who, let's face it, he doesn't lose big matches at all. For him to lose that match and then kind of, I wouldn't say he's showing off like humbleness, but he is showing off like he's doubting himself. He's big time doubting himself.
He's just. It doesn't, for me, you can doubt yourself without looking like a very small, insecure person.
Fair. That's fair.
And he's looking like a very insecure little man.
And I think Joe said it perfectly. He says, if you want Gunther to turn face, don't make him a bitch. Don't make him a bitch.
I was being kind, but I actually don't disagree with that at all.
Look, I think come Survivor Series in the match, I don't think Gunther's going to be looking like a bitch. Like, I think he's going to win this match pretty as we expect Gunther to win his matches. But with that being said, I can see that. Yeah, he's definitely. I would,
And then he's like all, doing that extra layer of like, being more shitty to Ludwig. So it's like. Taking his frustrations out on Kaiser because he's too much of a bitch to stand up to Damian Priest. That's just not Gunther's character.
No, but I think Sandy's onto it. Like, him losing changed the character a little bit. Now, do I think he'll find his way back to that Gunther? Yeah, I do. Because I think he's going to beat Priest, and then it'll probably be CM Punk or whoever's next in line, whatever. But I do think him, again, I agree with Joe. Like, don't turn him into like a little bitch. Like, that's not what we want. So 1 week here or there is fine, but like, I don't mind a change in character when he loses a big match like that, because he is this cocky guy that never loses and thinks he's better than everybody else. Well, you just got punched in the mouth. And you lost.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to look like he's about to cry.
Well, exactly. So we're going to have to see where, and I think Priest leaning in and doing what he's doing and saying, hey, man, if it wasn't for my friend Finn Balor, you wouldn't even have that belt because you wouldn't have beat me. I think him kind of leaning into that on top of him just losing to Cody is making Gunther be like, oh, maybe he's right. Maybe he's right. Maybe I wouldn't have beat him.
He can. Well, yeah. So like, I'm totally fine with him having those feelings.
Yeah.
Like that's perfectly normal. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
But he just looks like a bitch.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
right, yeah,
Like it was. I was not a fan of that part of it. I was more like, hey, you want to tell a story of like, hey, like Sandy's saying, he got rolled up. It wasn't even like it. What he, the typical way that Cody wins matches is 3 crossroads. Like that's his big match victory.
Yeah.
He does the 3 crossroads. He gets the victory.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even do that in this match. He just rolled them up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like a fluke, like Sandy said. So that should make him more angry than insecure.
Mm. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Like to see him like literally staring at Damian Priest last night with like a pouty face, like he's a 4-year-old that's about to cry. That just I didn't like that at all.
That's fair. I think that's completely fair. We saw the returning Dakota Kai last night on Raw. That was nice to see. I wanted her to turn and join the PFC immediately, Drew. Immediately. However, Dakota Kai is back. She teamed up with her fellow Damage Control members, Io Sky and Kairi Sane, and they had themselves a 6-women tag against the PFC, Baszler, Sonya Deville, and Zoe Stark. And you guessed it, the PFC lost again, because that's all they do. But
Pure
a good
fusion.
match. A good match. Good to see Dakota Kai back. She looked pretty good when she was in there. But Io Sky gets the pinfall on Shayna Baszler with a beautiful moonsault. Dakota Kai is one of those people that I would throw right near the very top of that list. 100%. If she's healthy and good to go, 100%. Yeah. Her, Chelsea Green, Mia Yim, Piper Niven, Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, any one of these 3 girls. And again, if Pure Fusion Collection wasn't fucking losing every week, I'd say any of these 6 girls, I would be more than okay, especially Baszler. I would love Shayna Baszler with the mid-tier women's title just choking everybody out.
And you mentioned Candice LeRae. I would have said Indy Hartwell, but
yeah, unfortunately.
Oh well.
Unfortunately. Backstage, later on in the evening. Wait, hold on. Where am I? Don't lose my place here. All right, yeah, that was the 6-woman tag. We already talked about the Bloodline stuff. We talked about Kofi and Pete because we kind of jumbled around a little bit. All right, so then we get a backstage segment. I don't think that would be a bad thing for them. If they went down there and started kind of running through the young girls a little bit, I think that could work. Because, I mean, look, they formed these people, and they've won about 2 matches since they've been formed. So I don't know what the point of getting...
Have they even won that much?
I don't know what the point of getting this group together was for them to lose everything. They formed another group, Survivor SummerSlam weekend on SmackDown with, I'm going to say her not WWE name, but with Bea Priestley joining Alba Fire and the other one that I'm drawing a blank on her name as well.
Isla
Dawn. They formed the Unholy Union with the 3 of them, and I haven't barely seen them together since it happened. Whatever. I don't know. Backstage, we get Judgment Day. They're bickering in the clubhouse. And Finn Balor is angry. He's angry because he says Dominic lost last week, and now Damian Priest is 1 step closer to getting the World Heavyweight title. And Dom says, hey, I was in that match by myself last week. Nobody was out there to help me. And then Finn goes, hey, I was doing what Liv, your girl, asked us and requested us to do, which was to leave you out there. And then Dom says, "Don't get angry at me because I got closer to the World Heavyweight title than you have." Ooh, dumb. And then he goes, "So don't get angry at me." And that gets Balor pissed. But then Liv kind of gets in the middle. She's like, "Okay, let's all calm down." And then Finn backs down. He says, "Hey, we're a family. We look out for each other. And next week, Carlito and Dom, why don't you step up to the War Raiders and show that you have our back?" Dom immediately says, "Fine, I'll go talk to Pierce to get it official." And Carlito's kind of like, "No, what? Why?" Kind of thing. Thought this was fine. I think this is leaning in more to the deceit. I've been talking about it for a little bit. I do think Dominic Mysterio is going to become a babyface at some point here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's anytime soon, but it's happening. I do think in 2025, we're getting Dominic Mysterio babyface. Like, that's what we're getting. We're getting a run with Dom as a babyface. I think they're kind of starting to go in that direction. I think Finn and Liv, because we know their history with the hotel key card and seeing them getting out of a car and all that stuff. I do think Dom is, he's a heel now. Again, I'm not saying, oh my God, this is the last time I'm going to say it. It's the last time I'm going to say it.
Thank you, Sandy.
I have no problem with heels having merchandise. I have a problem that a heel has the merchandise that is the pop, the cheap pop for the dumb crowd in the local area.
Hey,
shouldn't be a heel. Shouldn't be
call
a heel.
me dumb.
You know, cheap. Would you rather me call you a sheep that you spend $40 when you shouldn't spend more than $20 for a shirt ever, and you spend $40 on that?
I am a sheep for multiple things.
So again, I'm not saying that heels shouldn't have merchandise. What I'm saying is a heel shouldn't have your town-to-town cheap pop merchandise at the stand. Does not make sense. Sorry. So I like this little backstage segment, Drew. I liked it. I like the demise happening. I'm interested in more. It's very slow. It's very slow. I don't think it's anything that happens immediately, but I think it's a good tease.
Let me. Yeah, I'm noticing there's more things I don't like on this show this week. So I don't hate the dissension thing necessarily.
Mm.
Just hate that Finn's still so obsessed with Damien.
I mean, they've only had the one match, and Damien beat him.
Yeah, but that was like a month ago.
I agree. I understand why Gunther's the heavyweight champion, because Gunther is one of one. But I thought that the Finn and Balor thing should have led to them feuding over the world title. I feel like that was something that should have happened, because Finn is so angry that Damien became world champion, and then he did. Sandy, me and Drew had an offline conversation about this on Twitter this past week. We can maybe get into it at the end real quick.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. SmackDown, a perfect 2-hour show.
At the end.
Yeah. Wait. Okay. We'll talk about it. So stay tuned, Sandy. We'll address. We got about a half hour left to go. So let's get through the rest of Raw and anything else we missed on SmackDown. And then we'll leave the last 5 or 10 minutes to talk about that, because this is something that I'm sure we'll talk about aplenty moving forward until we get to whatever that report said might happen. So Finn has been so obsessed. He turned on Damien to take the belt away from him. And then he's been so obsessed with Damien not getting back to that I feel like at some point they need to fight over it. Don't they?
Yeah, but Gunther's...
I know.
Damien's not winning.
I know. He's not, and he shouldn't.
And probably because Finn is going to interfere.
Yes. That is yes. But I do think at some point these two need to battle, and I think it...
But here's my thing. Here's my thing with this. Now, it's kind of... It's also making... Speaking of Gunther being a bitch, it's also kind of making Finn look like a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like an on-site type of rivalry.
No, just like a bitter man talking.
He's not going to where Damien is and attacking Damien and fight. It's not like Randy and KO. It's not like KO and Cody. It's not what many feuds have been like, where there's like a deep-seated hatred for the babyface, and the heel just goes after the babyface. Finn has not been in the same room as, or he hasn't been in the same room as Damian since they were last in Judgment Day together. They have not been. He has not been in the ring or around the ring since their match. He's just backstage bitching about Damian Priest every segment he's in.
Yep.
And it's kind of dumb.
And it's starting to get to the point where he's starting to bitch about the Judgment Day. And he's starting to complain about Dom a lot. And he's starting to complain about, so it's really starting to eat at Finn, where it's starting to break away how he feels about the group as well. So it seems to be like yeah. So we'll see where it goes to. I think you're going to be 100% right. And I think he is going to get involved again in that world title match and probably prevent Damian from winning it.
All feuds in WWE, on Raw at least, have to end with Adam Pearce saying, "This is your last match and you're done." It seems like that's what the pattern is on Raw.
It seems to be.
Doing it with Bronson and Seth. They did it with Drew and Punk. Gonna do it here, probably. Like, you guys just fight for 6 fucking months.
Yeah.
That's it. This is over. It's over after this.
Yeah. I'd make an argument, Sandy, that he needs more than a drink.
Oh, he needs more.
More than a drink. We kind of talked about Seth and we kind of talked about Seth and Bronson a little bit, but we saw a Bronson Reed in-ring promo.
Yeah, very rare.
Raw. Yeah, very rare, and I thought he did pretty well. I liked it. He said he's here tonight to tell Seth Rollins that he's a hell of a competitor. But he said he isn't a competitor. He's a monster. And last week, he not only took Rollins out, but he took Damian Priest and Sheamus out as well. And he said he will take anyone out that stands between him and taking Seth out for good. And he says, Seth, if you want your revenge, I'm right here. All you have to do is come on down, man. Enter Seth Rollins. He does a little pose at the top of the ramp real quick, and then he just beelines it into the ring. They start brawling. At one point, Reed gets thrown into the post, and then Seth is clearing the announce table. Bronson cuts him off with the super kick. Seth dives on him in the timekeeper's area. Security swarms. They break it up. Reed fights them off, gets back into the ring, like beats up 4 or 5 security guys. They start brawling some more. Security pulls them apart again, but this time Seth is the one that gets away, goes back at him, and then security breaks it up. Bronson gets away and dives. He does a suicide dive through the ring, but Seth kind of moves out of the way, and he takes out all the security guys. They brawl up the ramp. Refs, road agents, they all separate them as we go to break. We come back from break. Seth Rollins and Adam Pearce are screaming at each other in the back. Rollins demands the match so he can end this once and for all. Pearce gives it to him, as you said, Drew. He said, next week. He goes, I've had enough, and it's over after next week. And that's when we talked about Sammy rolled up and talked to Rollins and blah, blah, blah. We talked about that. We then talked about the Priest and Kaiser match. After that, before we got to Jimmy Uso rolling up on Braun Breaker, we had Braun Breaker being interviewed backstage. He said he'd be standing there with 2 titles right now if it weren't for that ugly idiot Sheamus. And then Sheamus rolls up. He says, Braun has a lot of arrogance, but he gets it. He goes, you remind me of a young me. The top of the world with your momentum. He goes, just like in 2009 when I put my foot on John Cena's chest and I became the youngest world heavyweight champion, or like the newest or youngest world heavyweight champion ever. And then he says, but I ask you, Braun, do you have the guts to put the one title I've never won on the line? And Breaker says, I wasn't listening to a damn word you just said. But if you came here to challenge me for this, then yeah, man, I'm good to go.
I liked that response.
I did too. He goes, if you came to challenge me for this, well, I'm good to go. I'll kick your old ass and I'll be happy to do it. And then Sheamus says, my old ass is as good as ever, so shine that title up real nice because I'm going to win it next week. Yes, the Speed title is not on TV, but they were talking about the Speed title because Braun and Sheamus.
Yeah, they had like there was like a replay of it.
They had a replay of the Speed stuff. I think was Braun fighting Sheamus and it got to a brawl, or was Braun fighting someone else and Sheamus got involved? I don't remember. But either way, Braun was going after the Speed Championship. It did not happen because he was brawling with Sheamus. And that's the two titles that he talked about, even though they never show the Speed title on Raw.
They don't.
Or on TV in general.
It's because it's contractually a Twitter only.
Yeah. So the fact that he was talking about being a double champ, even though the one belt they never acknowledge or show, whatever. But so next week, it looks like we're getting an IC title match with Sheamus and Braun Breaker. Hell yes. Hell yes. We then come back from commercial, and we have the Final Testament and the Miz in the back. Karrion Kross is kind of like, oh my God, you're alive. Like he's kind of excited that the Miz is alive, like kind of mocking him a little bit. Miz says that he's been through a lot, and he's going to talk to Adam Pearce, and he's going to ask for a leave of absence. Kross goes, no. No, Kross goes, you're not going to do that. You need to tell us, where are the Wyatts? What's going on? You're not giving us any information. And Miz says, I finished my business with the Wyatts. I've moved on. I apologize. I told them I was going to change. I'm done with this. And he goes, and you guys, for your own sake, you need to move on too. Karrion Kross then gets angry. He starts yelling about Paul Ellering. And he says, remember how I threatened to break your legs and tell the Authors of Pain? He goes, I threatened to break your legs. The Authors of Pain grab Miz and they take him to the ring. Miz is, as Sandy said, Miz was bleeding from the eye. I don't know when that happened.
I don't know when that happened. Yeah.
I don't know when that happened, but Miz had like a little cut and was bleeding from the eye here. But they bring Miz out. Karrion shoves Miz to the mat. He demands to know where the Wyatts are. The lights go down, and we have the Wyatts appear. They are on the apron. They get in the ring. They're having a standoff with Karrion Kross, the Authors of Pain and crew. And the Miz slides in behind him with a chair. He hits Eric Rowan over the back with a chair. And then we have a brawl. And for the first time, we see the Wyatts kind of get their asses kicked here, Drew. Final Testament ends up getting the one up here on the Wyatts. Now, at the end, Uncle Howdy is in the corner laughing hysterically like he enjoyed it. But this is the first time since the Wyatts have been physical and in matches and attacking people that they ended up on the short end of the stick, where the Final Testament looked like the stronger group here. They got the one up on the Wyatts, and I didn't hate it, Drew. I didn't hate it. I thought this was pretty good. Obviously, we're leaning towards the Wyatts versus them in some sort of multi-man and woman because, you know, we have Scarlett.
I did not know Sheamus was the Speed Champion, by the way.
Sheamus is the Speed Champion. On the
I had no idea.
I did not know that either. But I thought this was pretty good. Miz with the chair shots was good. And then he was hugging Kross and all that. So it seemed like they were playing a joke on everybody. But I thought this was pretty good. I think it was a good little change of pace to see the Wyatts kind of, you know, end up getting the short end of the stick here. I thought they can't all, you know what I mean? I thought this was good. I
did like this too. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked it a lot. So obviously I want to see more where this
got me actually.
He did.
I thought that he was really serious.
I thought he was too. Yeah, he got me too. And I thought they did a really good job of faking people out. Because the week prior we had the video with him kind of tied up and the thing over his mouth and he was looking scared as hell, as you would be. And I thought that they sold it well earlier, saying I'm asking to get the hell out of here. I don't want to be here anymore. I thought this was really well done. In a good segment. And I'm kind of digging the Wyatts and the Karrion Kross group here. I'm kind of digging this little thing they got going on here. It's intriguing to me. So that was good. I agree. It's always exciting when the Wyatts do. When you hear that little piano, it's always, oh, they're coming.
Haven't been in the building for it yet.
Yeah,
I would like to experience that one day.
We also had a women's tag team title match to close out Monday Night Raw last night. It was Bianca and Jade defending against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Drew, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought Liv and Raquel were winning these belts. I went into this match going, I think they're going to win.
I had a thought that was going to happen too.
I thought Liv was going to be double champ, but obviously what happened afterwards, they're clearly setting up, as Andy said. Well, is that match you're thinking Karrion Kross versus the Wyatts at Survivor Series? That would be fun. If they made that like a Wyatt street fight or something like that, I think that would be fun. It could also main event a Raw as well.
Well, that could be like a classic Survivor Series match even.
Oh, you think an elimination match? That'd be fun.
5-on-5.
That. They used to do the one an event, but now the last couple of years they haven't. I would love them to get back to like at least one traditional. I would take the 10 women that you just had in NXT and just throw them on the main roster at Survivor Series and say you're having a 10-woman traditional. I think that would
be a bad idea.
I think that would be a good idea. Yep, Sandy. I did want to talk about that. Okay. So they've been doing this thing where Jade Cargill comes out first. She has a little bit of her entrance, and then Bianca comes out, and then they both go down to the ring. I thought last night on Raw, Bianca came out very quickly. Very quickly. Jade didn't super duper react to it, but Bianca came out a lot quicker than she normally does. And there were a few parts of this match where it looked like Bianca and Jade were not on the same page. And that is becoming more frequent with these matches with these two women.
Yeah.
But there were a few times here. At one point during this match, Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton show up. Tiffany runs interference while Nia Samoan drops Jade into the apron, so she's getting involved. Raquel tries to cover it. Bianca breaks it up. Stratton is doing more interference, and then Naomi shows up. She cuts off Tiffany Stratton. She throws her into the barricade. She then takes down Nia, as we know this Friday on SmackDown. Nia Jax is defending her title against Naomi, so they were leaning into that. And then Liv cuts off Naomi. Then Morgan dives right into a kick from Cargill. Then we tag Jade. And then there's a backbreaker rack and the KOD on Liv Morgan. And Liv Morgan actually takes the pinfall here. And Bianca and Jade defend their titles. Post-match, Nia Jax gets into the ring. She takes out the tag champs from behind. But Io Sky appears, makes the save. Tiffany's in there. She gets taken out. They kind of clear the ring, and the show ends with Naomi, Jade, Bianca, and Io Sky in the ring, all celebrating. And then you have Nia Jax, Liv, Raquel, and Tiffany on the outside. This seems to me that this is the start. I mean, I know we only have a couple more Raws and SmackDowns before Survivor Series, but this seems to me to be the start of what they're building for the Women's War Games match. It's going to be a co-branded show, it looks like, SmackDown and Raw people in it.
Yeah.
I would assume that Candice LeRae will be the fifth person that rounds out the Nia Jax squad, because she's kind of inserting herself here, trying to get in the good graces of Nia Jax and under Tiffany's skin over on SmackDown, which I'm liking. I'm liking that over there. So I think it would be Candice would be the fifth person on the Naomi. No, it's a lie. On the Nia Liv team. I don't know who will be the fifth person on the Bianca, Jade, Io, and Naomi team. Maybe Bailey. Bailey would probably make sense, right? You'd think? Probably. I don't know. But it seems like we're building towards that. That's how Raw ends. Yeah. I thought Raw was solid. I want to bring back Sandy's comment about the times of the shows. Yeah, Sandy, if you watch the spoilers, I'm sure we probably know who the 5th people are on the ladies' teams. I don't think that is as important of spoiling it until we see it, to be honest with you. Obviously, the Bloodline story is more prevalent of what we're talking about.
Right. And that I
But-
actually don't know the spoiler of.
All right, cool.
I didn't look at everything.
Okay. So it seems that's what we're doing. It seems that's what we're doing. We're rounding the women's War Games match into form. This was a good main event. It was a good tag match. Like I said, I thought Liv and Raquel were going to win because I think Rhea being out, now they're saying that she's eyeing a WrestleMania return. Like that's her being out way longer than I thought she would be out. And then, it is what it is. It is what it is. So, I hope that's not true, because if you threw a spoiler in my chat, I will yell at you. I will yell at you. So this is a spoiler-free zone. So, that's a guess. Okay, good. Because otherwise, I was about to scream. But yeah.
So let's talk about how I'm going to be way more tired in January because I will now have. Well, first of all, I need to find a way to get Netflix because I don't have access to Netflix anymore.
What do you mean? Well, you just stopped paying for it?
No, I wasn't paying for it. I had.
Oh, I mean, it's not that
access.
I mean, yeah.
Wink, wink. I had access through somebody else, but Netflix decided to be capitalist pieces of shit, and
yeah, God forbid they don't want people stealing their shit. God forbid.
No, they're not that they're stealing. Just that
you were stealing.
No, I was watching on my another account so I didn't have to pay. That's not stealing.
Yes, Drew, that is you watching their stuff.
I wasn't pirating it.
No, but you're not. You're watching it for free. That's
I mean, it's not like, again, for free is pirating it. Somebody was paying for it.
But not you, who was watching it. Listen,
anyway,
I hate greedy fucks. That is not them being greedy. That is not them being greedy. That is them saying,
I'm just salty about it. I'm not really saying that they're greedy.
Which is fair. I don't think
they are greedy, but whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to figure out something there. I guess I'm gonna.
Why don't you do like the rest of us and just pay for it?
I'm sorry. That
I have to pay for it every month.
I have money. Oh, good. So screen share it with me every Monday, and then we'll fucking watch it together. So
I don't even have a job. I don't even have a job, and I'm paying for it.
Well, that is poor mismanagement of your finances.
Nah, dude. Netflix has a lot of good stuff on there. Chef's Table. You ever watch Chef's Table?
I have not.
Oh, tremendous. Anyway, continue.
I watched the entire Walking Dead series on Netflix, and then they went, you know what? I'm paying for AMC Plus because it's got all the Walking Dead stuff on.
Really? See, like that to me wouldn't even be a choice. I'm like, why? Well, you're going through a show, but once you're done Walking Dead, are you not? You wouldn't pay for that anymore, right?
I don't know. Maybe there's other things on there.
I mean, Mad Men is on that. Mad Men, Breaking Bad. Mad Men, one of the greatest shows of all time. Breaking Bad, probably the greatest show of all time. They're both on AMC, so you can probably watch that. Yeah, fair. Anyway.
But yeah, so the report came out on Friday or Thursday last week that the potential is, it's not like confirmed, but they're saying that it seems likely that Raw on Netflix will be 3 hours, and SmackDown on the USA Network will be 3 hours, and they're going to do a big call up of NXT people, which is why they need to be 3 hours. Which there I guess also the inclusion of this new title, for the women.
You know what the sad thing is, Drew? We obviously do a show talking about AEW on Thursdays as well. I would not be shocked in 2025 if Dynamite goes to 3 hours as well.
No,
so
don't put that in the universe.
It is.
What are you woot-wooting, JR? What do you mean 3 hours woot-woot? You're happy about this?
I'm not unhappy about it.
Okay, this is what I need to know from everybody. In 2012, Raw was 3 hours sometimes for the super shows when they had
Yeah.
the Raw, Net, SmackDown, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then they decided, hey, every week, Monday night is going to be 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone hated that.
Mm-hmm.
Hated that.
Yep.
In 2024, after Raw, and for the first time in 12 years, goes back to 2 hours.
The show has sucked.
I don't agree. I do not agree.
I fully agree. I think
I
SmackDown is a
like
well
it
put together.
way better.
Yeah, you like it way better for you like the show way better, or you like
Yeah.
it that it's just 2 hours?
I like it better at 2 hours,
I
and I think that they'll figure it out because they already
will
do
they?
a
Because
2-hour show every week.
it's been a month and a half, and Raw has been not even close to the level it was before when it was 3 hours earlier. Like this whole year, when Raw, and don't get me wrong, I prefer 2 hours to 3 in general. SmackDown to me is a perfect 2-hour television show. It's good every week. Everything seems like it fits. It's put together well. SmackDown is a 2-hour show I love. I think since Raw has gone down to 2 hours, Raw has been subpar for the most part.
I don't agree with you.
Subpar.
The first 2 weeks, yeah. Now, I am totally fine with it.
And Triple H has openly come out and said that they are struggling getting all the 3-hour stuff down to a 2-hour format. Do I think they can figure it out if they really want to? Yeah, because SmackDown is a great show. Another 2-hour show, NXT is a great show. They know how to make good 2-hour shows. Now, I'm not saying Raw has been bad since it's gone down to 2 hours, but it has not been as good as the Raws that we were seeing before they made the switch. The Raws we were seeing for the 2 or 3 months before we saw the switch were top tier, must watch Raws every week.
But they weren't because the show was 3 hours.
No, they were because there was more stuff on the show that was good because it was 3 hours. Not saying it was directly just because the show was 3 hours, but it felt better paced. They were really hitting a 3-hour groove where I could sit there for 3 hours and it felt like it was 2.
The pacing was good. I'm not going to lie about that.
It just, they figured out the 3-hour
fit
format.
there for 3 hours and watch the fucking show, but it's
again, I feel like that's more of an individual. Like, I don't know what else. Like, what else am I going to be doing from 10 to 11 on a Monday? You know what I mean?
So
that's how I view it.
Here's the problem. Okay, here's the problem. In January, now they do this thing, right? They bring Raw back to 3 hours on Netflix.
I still think it's going to be somewhere in the middle of 2 and 3 hours. Like, I don't think it's always like. Remember how there was an early report that said that Netflix wasn't going to have an end time? It was just going to kind of be however the show. I feel like they'll do that still.
Well, so it's going to be more than 2 hours.
Yeah, it could be 2.5, depending on the stories or the type of Raw they wrote. Or it could be maybe 1 week it is 2 hours. Maybe 1 week it's 3. Maybe it's 2 hours and 15. Like, I think they're just going to kind of write the show out, and however the fuck it goes is however the fuck it goes. On Raw. Obviously, SmackDown is on cable television. That needs to have a hard out time. But we all kind of knew that SmackDown was going to be 3 hours way earlier than this because everyone was assuming that would get the 3 hours in place of Raw, who's leaving.
Right.
So I don't think that's a big revelation.
SmackDown? Stay
perfect show
from my SmackDown.
Yeah, it's a perfect 2-hour show right now, currently. Like, I feel like it's a perfect 2-hour show. But money's money, man.
If you listen, I shit on wrestling fans a lot, and I don't usually mean it in a mean way. Nobody wanted Raw to be 3 hours in 2012.
Yeah, but you also need
now.
Yeah.
Not only do people want Raw to be 3 hours, they want SmackDown to be 3 hours.
Yeah,
Are you fucking kidding me?
The product is dramatically better now than it was in 2012.
Yeah, but okay, listen, I'm going to tell you.
That was part of the problem. A 2-hour Raw was a slog to get through back then because Vince had no fucking clue what he was doing. Now those shows are at least digestible. They're good wrestling shows for the most part. So an extra hour doesn't hurt.
There's a lot of fluff and unnecessary bullshit.
Yeah, but that's always going to be. That's just.
But it doesn't need to be. That's the point. It doesn't need to be.
Yeah, but it's
good
WWE.
now.
It's just gonna be. Last
3
night on
hours.
Raw, there was like 25 minutes of in-ring wrestling on 2 hours. It was all storyline.
Right. So you think going back to 3 hours mean there's going to be more wrestling?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
I think there's going to be more video promos. I think there's going to be more replays. There's going to be more recaps. There's going to be more of all of this fluff in between matches that just drags out the show. And particularly with SmackDown, that's already a good 2-hour show. You're going to take to an even great 2-hour show. You're going to take a great 2-hour show and add unnecessary fluff to stretch it out an extra hour, to where people by the end of the month are going to be like, oh, there was no point in this. Now I'm not happy anymore with it being 3 hours. All these sort of like, oh yeah, more content. Please. The content. January. 3 hours of Raw. 3 hours of SmackDown. 2 hours of NXT. If you are just a WWE content person, you got the speed thing, you got whatever else they do if they tape like a main event type of a thing, which I don't think they really do anymore.
I don't know.
So you got 3 hours of Raw, you got 2 hours of NXT, you got 3 hours of SmackDown. Now, hey, look, it's a PLE weekend. And it's a big 4 PLE weekend. So that means you got Monday night 3 hours. You got Tuesday night 2 hours. You got Friday night 3 hours. You've got Saturday night 3 hours. You've got Sunday night 3+ hours because it's the main roster pay-per-view. That is 12 hours of wrestling for one company in 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
That is too much.
Fair. But again,
Sandy, I know you want me to watch NXT. Good luck getting me to watch NXT if SmackDown is 3 hours and Raw goes back to 3 hours, because that's going to be way too much for me.
It's fair. The way that I view it is, I'm a wrestling fan. I'm never going to get tired of watching wrestling. So if you're giving me more wrestling, that's that, I don't have a problem with that. Do I think a 2-hour television show is a better format than a 3-hour television show? Yes. But again,
then why do you want Raw to go back to 3 hours?
Because I personally think the show has gotten worse since it's gone down to 2 hours. Personally, not bad, but I think it's gotten, the Raws that we were watching the first 6 or 7 months of the year. the Raws that we were watching the first 6 and 7 months of the year were dramatically better than the Raws we've been watching since they went down to 2 hours. And that's just a fact.
I
to
think
me. That is a fact.
That was because the final boss was there.
The final boss left in April, and I would argue that the best Raws we saw this year were in the summertime. I would argue that we were ending Raws. Look, leading into WrestleMania is going to be the best time always. That's when all guns blaze. Like, that is the best time of wrestling. But the 3 hours of Raws, I remember us sitting here. We started talking about Firmly WWE. We started this show in August, Drew. If Raw was so hot, yeah. So that means that we got to a point where you and I were like, hey, man, we should really start talking about WWE.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about it by WrestleMania time.
Yes, but that means that it continued way past WrestleMania and way past The Rock being there in order for us to talk about this, because WWE was hot and the shows were killer. And again,
I'm not saying that it wasn't hot by any means.
And the shows are
definitely hot.
Yeah, the shows are still good. And I'm not sitting here telling you I want Raw to go back to 3 hours. I just don't have a problem at all with Raw going back to 3 hours. You seem to have a problem.
I do
with Raw going back to 3 hours.
Yeah.
I don't, because again,
and then SmackDown going to 3 hours.
But the way that I digest, and again, this depends on how I digest the shows. Now, a Friday night is a Friday night. I'm not going to sit down. If I have plans on a Friday night, I mean, not the story they're telling now, but
well, no, he's a bitch now, but facts, because he's hot as hell.
Oh yeah, Roman is he's a statue. He's a statue. He looks so good. However, I will say the way that if you just got here, first of all, thank you for being here and thank you for typing in the chat and being a part of the show.
Yes, thank you.
The whole
this
first
is the first
hour,
time we're seeing you.
Yeah, the whole first hour of this show, we talked about the Bloodline and we talked about how me and Drew we're happy we're getting the War Games match, kinda, even though they're adding a fifth guy for no fucking reason on either team. I am not thrilled. We are not thrilled about really the laziness in the booking of the Bloodline getting back together, because it has been capital L lazy, annoying. Roman's still a dick, not apologizing, but yes, everyone run to Roman's side to help him, even though he tortured you for 3 years. Makes no damn sense. With that being said, War Games is going to rule. Yeah, see, I just don't have a problem with it going to 3 hours. Now, but this is also the way, like I said, and this will be our last part before we get out of here, because I'm sure we'll be talking about this if it ever does there'll be other times we're going to be talking about this. For me, the way that I digest my wrestling is I know we come here every Tuesday and we talk about WWE. So for me, I don't watch SmackDown live most weeks. I don't. Now that's going to change because, tune into the socials. I might have some things coming up from a content standpoint. But like, I don't watch SmackDown live every week as constituted right now. Huh? Oh yeah.
When I went like this, I just noticed that there's paw prints on this hat.
If you leave it out, the cats will get it, dude.
Somebody had been up here and I didn't.
If you leave it out, the cats will get it. The cats will get it. So like, my thing is, Drew, like we do a show on Tuesdays, right? If you're complaining about a 3-hour Raw, and again, we have to see how the 3-hour Raw will go on Netflix, because are there going to be real commercials? How's this going to go? But if Raw goes to 3 hours and there are commercials and you start Raw late, let's say you purposefully start Raw at 10 o'clock at night, you'll be done watching the 3-hour Raw before midnight, because you'll be able to fast forward all the commercials, fast forward all the recaps, fast forward all the video promos you don't really need to see. And Raw will be over for you in an hour and 45 minutes. That's how I watch the 2-hour SmackDown now, because I probably watch it live 60% of the time. And the next day when I watch it and I fast forward through all the commercials, SmackDown takes me literally like an hour and 5 minutes to watch. So yes, I understand in total.
So
it's going to 3 hours. But
my wrestling experience is I don't like watching it the next day because everyone's already talked about it. Yeah. I've already looked at whatever. I'm like, okay. I mean, I still watch it, but I'm less interested. I'm just like kind of breezing through, maybe not picking up on every single thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm just not, I just don't, because now we're only talking about WWE here, but there's more than one wrestling company, and there's more than one wrestling company that we cover. On Thursday, we cover AEW. And, I said 12 hours of wrestling. It's actually 14 hours of wrestling. Because I forgot to add
you don't watch NXT.
Well, I'm just saying, not me personally.
Okay, just in general.
In general, yeah. 12 hours for me.
Yeah. Well, more because Collision.
No, it's 12 hours of just WWE.
Oh, yeah. I get you.
On a PLE weekend.
Me confused.
Then add 4 more hours to that because of Dynamite and Collision. And then, not often, but sometimes, there's a PLE and a pay-per-view. And God help us when there's a pay-per-view, when there's a PLE, because that just adds lots of time.
Yeah.
Lots of time.
Yeah.
So you could, if you're an AEW watcher, well, and you watch nearly all of WWE's content, you're looking at any given week in a month, you're looking at potentially nearly 20 hours of wrestling content.
Yeah.
Because WWE, AEW pay-per-views, they ain't 3 hours.
No, they're not. No, they're not. I will say they've gotten better the last couple with like, I feel like
Keeping
the
it
last
under
couple.
5.
Yes. Yes. I feel like they've gotten better with like, oh my God, we're close to 6 hours here, guys. Can we relax? So like I think they've gotten better, and we'll talk more about that on Thursday and stuff. I mean, again, at the end of the day, everybody's going to feel a certain way about it. We all digest wrestling different. I don't think, us going back to 2 hour Raws for 3 months, like I don't think it's going to be that much of a dramatic difference to go back to 3. It's just not. It's been our lives, with the exception of these 2.5 months, for the last 12 years. What's the difference? SmackDown, I agree. SmackDown is, to me, kind of like almost a perfect show, formatting wise. And I feel like they have that down pat. Adding another hour there, it is what it is. But again, if this gets more people from NXT, because they have a lot of people down there that are ready to be on the main roster, And if this helps them get on the main roster and have legit storylines and create the new mid-card women's belt, and, again, we'll have to see how it goes. But yeah, and like I said, dude, yeah, we got to. But like I said, like, I hope you keep this same energy, Drew, when AEW announces that Dynamite's going to 3 hours.
No, I am absolutely going to keep the same energy.
Because that is happening. And
that makes it even worse.
And they're going to get another show on Fox or somewhere else, plus Collision.
That makes it even worse.
We're getting the same thing, man. It's happening on both sides, man. The content, people want more content, and wrestling is going to give them more content. That is exactly what's going to happen. But all right, yes, we do get to get out of here. We are a few minutes over. I know we kind of just go whenever. But Drew, you know the drill. Let the people know. Obviously, we'll be back on Thursday at 10 a.m. for Firmly AEW. So we'll see all you guys from the chat back on Thursday. But let the people know what else you got coming up the rest of the week and where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at the Drew Nicholas, as you can see right there. I have a blue sky. It's big. It's my old handle.
Big
if you
Money
knew
Drew.
Me from before January.
Yeah.
It's Big Money Drew .bsky.social, I think it is, or .social.bsky. I don't know what that whole thing is yet.
Yeah.
Just look up Big Money Drew on there. You'll find me. Same profile picture as my Twitter. And I will. So, programming note for myself. I will be filling in for. I do the Collision post shows for Fightful, collecting the super chats and humper chats over there on Saturdays. But I will be filling in a few Wednesdays for Luis. So I'll be doing the Wednesday night Dynamite recap with Sean and Alex.
Very good.
For a few, I don't know how many Wednesdays. It's going to be a number of Wednesdays between now and the rest of the year. So that'll be exciting. And I'll be doing it on Friday this week as well after SmackDown. So you can hang out with me on the Fightful pretty much after every wrestling show this week. So it'll be fun. And and Pisces, listen, I love me some Roman too. So I don't disagree with you at all.
Yeah.
So yes, and you can find me on the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast, and I think I'm done.
Fair enough. You can find me at JPJ Loves Gaming on all social media platforms. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. with this guy right here. WWE on Tuesdays, AEW on Thursdays. Thursday nights at 8 p.m. with my main squeeze, Pluggo. Flagship show here at Love Wrestling between two beards. Last week we had Joey Carney on the Angle podcast on. That is on these YouTubes. Go watch that episode. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, and that's where you can find me. I stream video games Monday through Friday every day on Twitch and TikTok. So if you're into that, you can come watch me over there. Follow us here at Love Wrestling. If this is your first time here, click the bell.
At Firmly LW
and Firmly Love Wrestling on Twitter as well. That's the kind of our show Twitter. But follow Love Wrestling. We have good content every week. The Sunday brunch. We have the brunch gimmick. We have these two shows with me and Drew. We have 4 exposure for independent wrestling fans on the weekends as well, plus a whole lot more.
And
appreciate.
Next week we will have an announcement about the following week's Firmly shows.
Yeah. Holidays are coming, people. Holidays are coming. Holidays are coming. But we will be back on Thursday talking some AEW. We appreciate everybody in the chat, our old friends that are here all the time, our new friends that popped in today for the first time. Appreciate you all. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you Thursday. And you all know the drill. Peace out.